All right. So, hello, everybody out there in social media land. I am Dr. Kent Key, and we are the Flint Public Health Youth Academy for another episode of A Youth Perspective. We would like to first just thank all of our loyal viewers who tune in almost on every show, that invite other guests to like and share and follow these dynamic youth, as we are the generation of public health. It's not youth are the generation of tomorrow. We are the generation of now, right? Today. And so we're so excited to continue to have these conversations because public health is everything and everything is public health. So whether it's social justice, whether it's a health issue, whether it's clean water, clean air, whether it's health policy, whether we're in war right now as globally, whether it's war, all of these things impact the health of the public, and not only the physical health, but the mental health, the social health, the financial health, the cultural health. And so we're excited to continue to explore the various dimensions of health through the lens of public health. So today's show is going to be hot, y'all. So I'm telling y'all now, go ahead and go to your social media, hit like and share, call up a couple of your friends and say, hey, fire is on. Flint Public Health Youth Academy is on, and they're about to have a real good discussion. So this is Women's Empowerment Month, and we're so excited to highlight these dynamic ladies to talk about, from women perspective, things that impact them daily, socially, health-wise, and in every other aspect. We're delighted to have guests from Spelman College with us on today, and we're delighted to have the fabulous Kayla Shannon, who you all know and you see week after week, facilitating the show. And so I'm going to turn it over to Kayla, and then I'm going to go ghost on y'all, and I'm going to let them run this thing. So again, thank you all for tuning in. Like, share, and let everybody know that fire is on. Kayla, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Key. And hello, beautiful people. And thank you for joining us here once again. I'm so excited to be in the company of amazing Black women today, celebrating Women's History Month. So many women who are near and dear to my heart and who have impacted my life in so many different ways. But I'm going to stop talking and let them introduce themselves to you. As many of you already know, my name is Kayla Shannon. I've been with FIA for 2 going on 3 years now, and I'm currently attending the illustrious Spelman College, and I am so proud to have my Spell sisters here with me today. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the floor so that they can introduce themselves, starting with Anike.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anike Tyndall. I am a sophomore psychology major from Toccoa, Georgia at the illustrious Spelman College. And I am just very thankful to be here today. Thank you so much for having me.
Anaya.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anaya Wilkerson. I am a sophomore history major on the pre-law track here at Spelman College, the number one and only. Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity.
And last but not least, Sydney.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sydney Coggins. I'm a sophomore psychology major, political science minor on the pre-law track at the illustrious Spelman College. I am very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you all for introducing yourself. And now we're going to take a moment to allow our FIA, our women from FIA, to also introduce themselves, although some of you are already familiar, starting with Jasmine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jasmine Hall. I am a mentor with the Flint Public Health Youth Academy, have been for 2 years. I'm also an epidemiologist at Michigan State University College of Human Medicine, as well as a yoga teacher in the city of Flint. Really excited to be here.
Melody.
Hi guys, my name is Melody Marsh. I'm a student at Genesee Early College, and I'm an intern with FIA, and I've been apart for about a month now.
Kiera.
Hi, sorry about that, y'all. My name is Kiera Wallace. I am one of the FIA mentors. I'm a paralegal at the National Treasury Employees Union, and I attend University of Maryland, Cary for law school as well.
And last but certainly not least, the Dr. Bailey.
Thank you. Kayla. My name is Reverend Dr. Sarah Bailey, and I am the administrative consultant for FIA, but I'm also the CEO of Bridges into the Future, and I'm board member with the Michigan Institute for Clinical Research, co-investigator for the Cardiovascular Center Neurology Department at the University of Michigan. I am also a co-investigator at Michigan State in the Church Challenge program. I work with McWayne State and many of their community activities and investigations. In other words, I'll work with you if you want to work with me and you want to work with my community and do right by us.
A resume, y'all. A resume. We love that. So as you can see, we literally have a panel jam-packed of Black woman excellence. And I am so excited and honored to be in you all's presence. Speaking of Black woman excellence, currently we have the first Black woman nominated who will probably most likely be sitting on our Supreme Court shortly, Miss Judge Jackson. And that is such a pivotal and amazing point in our history. I'm so excited at the opportunity to even be connected just by her being a fellow Black woman. But as we all know, her hearing process has been hard to watch. To say anything, her confirmation hearings have been difficult to watch. And one of the questions that they threw at her sort of as a curveball in an attempt to like get her off of her pedestal, so to speak, was, what is a woman? They asked her to define what a woman is. And we could get into the politics of why they asked her that question and really what their mindset behind that was. Thankfully, she handled that gracefully as she has handled everything else. But as we are entering into this talk show, I wanted to take an opportunity for us to answer that question. For you, what defines womanhood and what has defined your experience as a Black woman in America? And we don't really do raised hands, but so you can jump in at any time.
I can start. So I know there's like so many different things that go into being a woman, so many different factors. So I feel like it's really difficult to put one definition on what makes a woman and what defines womanhood, because there's being a woman and there's also embracing femininity. So you just have to, it's difficult, I think. I think it's on an individual basis.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Sydney, because I mean, as we see now, like women are infiltrating everything, like every department, every career, every field. We're everywhere. We can do anything, and putting a label on like what is a woman in some regard is a little bit restricting, because we are everything and more. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, but as Black women, I mean, should I go on? So I think that being a woman, it could be anything. It's up to their own interpretation of what you think it is. And we can do anything and everything. So there really is no label.
I would have to agree. I remember when we were taking ADW and we had this conversation about what masculinity and femininity is. And in a lot of ways, that's the same conversation as what is a woman and what is a man, how you define those. But at the end of the day, those two things are becoming more subjective, because what used to define a woman does not any longer define a woman. What defines a man no longer defines a man. As we come into ourselves and explore who we are, our definition of man and woman is all different. So it really is just subjective.
Yeah, and I'll definitely build on what was said already. Like when I was younger, you know, I thought getting my period was like, boom, I'm a woman now, you know, and I thought it had something to do with, you know, my reproductive organs and my like anatomy. And obviously in this day and age, I've grown, I've learned, and I know, you know, you can have whatever going on and you can be a woman. It's how you define yourself. And as I've kind of moved from, adolescence to full adulthood, I think about some of the words that come up when I think of women, and it's like strong leaders. We talked about Judge Ketanji Jackson and how she's had to be graceful in the midst of all of this nonsense. I think about, the athletes that have to be graceful. Our former mayor who had to be graceful in the midst of, a storm. And so, I think of, strong, graceful leaders, but also softness. Someone alluded to femininity earlier, and I think that, that plays a part for some women as well. So I just throw those in there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for your input. Melody, did you want to touch on this question?
Yeah, I think it goes like way further than just chromosomes and stuff like that. It's about who you are and how you're developing yourself and how you form those opinions yourself. At the end of the day, I feel like it's what's true to yourself and what's true to you, what a woman truly is.
Yes. And as we're having this discussion, I want to also input, like, just by dictionary definition, right? Like, because let's get into it, because a lot of people will have this conversation about what the distinction between a woman and a male is, a woman and a man is, and they confuse a woman with being female, which by definition are two different things. Gender, which is woman, man, and sex, which is female, male, are by definition two completely different things. Woman is defined by the social characteristics or responsibilities that a society puts on a gender. So what it means to be a woman is one thing in America, it is one thing in Europe, it is another thing in Africa, it is another thing like that. That is womanhood. These are the societal constraints that we as a culture put on certain genders, whereas female or male is, once again, the biological, the sex, the chromosomes, the things that we've discussed. And so as we're discussing this definition, like, I want us to also be taking that into consideration, is that part of the reason being a woman is so fluid is because it truly is what we as a culture decide it is. If we decide being a woman means being strong and being masculine or doing manly things, like, that's what a woman is, and no one can tell us differently because it's literally defined by your culture. And so that's what makes it fluid. And I think that is the beautiful part of being able to define your community. Dr. Bailey.
Yeah, and it changes over time. So one day it can be one thing, and it can mean one thing, and another day it can mean something totally different. And that sometimes can be very confusing to a lot of different people, but it really relies upon the individual person and what you want to admit. We've come to that final conclusion at this point in time, and it's been a struggle to get there. With so many pressures being put on women, and women being defined by everybody but a woman. And I think that's some of the stuff that was happening in the confirmation hearing. But I love the stink eye. We're good at it. To me, that's what defines a woman. One who can look at you when you're acting and talking crazy and just simply give you the stink eye that knows you out of line and you out of order. And I don't have to say anything else.
Yes, I love that, Doctor. I am defined by my side eye. I like it. I like it a lot. Melody, what would you like to add?
So what you said about culture and it being defined by culture, that kind of brings up the whole strong Black woman thing and the stereotypes that come with being a Black woman or anything like that. So I don't know, it's just weird to me how it's defined by culture and not yourself and not how you feel about it. Because we get these stereotypes put on us that we're strong and that we can't be, not saying that we're not weak, but we can't have those insecure moments, or we can't go through this, we can't have these feelings on those things because we're looked at as a strong Black woman and can't feel things. I don't know if that's.
No, that makes so much sense. Like, speaking about stereotypes and the way that society also puts its voice into how we define ourselves. Would anyone else like to speak to this stereotype of being a quote unquote strong Black woman?
Or even like the angry Black woman. I know that gets put on us a lot. Like, I know sometimes my stank face or like my resting face is can be like bad or something like that. So I get stereotyped as someone that's mean. And I mean, in my opinion, I'm a really nice person. Like, I like talking to people. Just sometimes when I'm working or something, I have a face. So like, we get this whole stereotype that we're mean, that we don't want to talk to anybody. And it's just like, it's just wrong. And we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, I guess.
I would also like to add something. One thing that I have also noticed, and I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, actually, is like, for me personally, when I talk about something that I'm passionate about, sometimes I get really loud sometimes. And then if I'm talking to someone who is non-Black typically, or non-POC, they always look at me like I'm crazy or like I'm being angry or aggressive. I'm like, no, I'm just talking about something that I'm very, very passionate about. And in other instances, another thing that I've noticed is correction. When you correct someone who is non-POC, it somehow makes me the bad guy. Because I'm correcting you because I don't want you to go out to the rest of the world and say that same thing and someone is not as nice. But when I try to correct, it comes off like, oh, you're just being angry or you're just being stereotypical. No, I'm trying to help you. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like that kind of goes in as well.
I'd also like to add, I feel like throughout history, Black women have always been the ones that would step up to the plate and carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. We were always the one that were taking up the responsibility. So we were forced to uphold the stereotype of being strong and angry because we were the ones getting things done. And if we weren't getting things done, things wouldn't get done. So we were forced to uphold these stereotypes.
Yes, absolutely. Kiera?
Sorry, I came in late. I wanted to add, one of the girls, I can't remember who, was just talking about being a mad Black woman. And it's so funny because that's a discussion that I used to have, but I don't even have it no more. Like if that's what I'm gonna be, then that's what I'm gonna be, because I'm not gonna explain that you made me mad for a legitimate reason. And I'm upset the same way someone else be upset. I'm a mad Black woman. So that's what it's gonna be. We just gonna figure out how to make me unmad at this point. And being a loud talker is a cultural thing. And unfortunately, that's also something that's being put on us as women, because I have company and I'm reminding my male friends more than my female, look, like, it's quiet hours. This ain't no dorm. Y'all gotta, calm down a little bit, because they're much louder. But that's typically something that is put on women unfairly, of course. And while it is unfair in a fight that we should have, for me personally, I just think it's easier to say, okay, and next. Because what happens is a lot of my white coworkers and classmates are passive aggressive. And so if you're gonna call me a mad Black woman or regular aggressive, then that's fine, because there's already aggression in the workplace. Whether it's passive or upfront, then that's the issue we should need to deal with. So I don't know if it's a good thing, but that's how I tend to move forward at this point. But I think COVID has definitely made my patience shorter too. So.
No, I definitely understand that, Kiera. And I think what you spoke to was having the ability to take the reins and to say, like, if I'm a mad Black woman, I'm gonna be that, but I'm still gonna get my point across. I'm still like, you're not going to invalidate me or silence me because you're afraid of my voice. And as you said, like, other people can be loud, but then as a woman, you're expected to be quieter. You're expected to be more timid. You're expected to be more reserved. And it's like, no, I have passions and feelings and interests and things that are important to me just as much as anyone else. So Dr. Bailey, I see your hand is raised, and then Anaya, it looks like you have a comment as well. So we'll go in that order.
I just wanted to piggyback off of everything everybody is saying, that oftentimes, so when we speak up for ourselves, we are considered to be angry. I'm not angry. I'm just going to put you in your place since you did something that put me out of my place. And I have passion. I sing. I preach. My voice is supposed to modulate. So it does. Get with that. That's who I am. Don't take me away from who I am to validate who you are. So a lot of times what happens is that people want us to simmer down or cower down because we're supposed to be the weaker sex. We're supposed to be weak. Yeah, but we're not. We have exhibited strength. That's how our ancestors were able to survive the atrocities that were placed upon us. That's how we were able to survive being torn from our motherland, to be torn from our ancestry, to be torn and to be raped and to be watch our children stripped from us and murdered. We had to exhibit some level of strength to be able to tolerate that and to continue to procreate. And so that all of us are here today as a result of some woman who stood fast in the midst of the worst atrocities that she possibly could have endured. And my experiencing your discomfort is little compared to what my ancestors have already experienced. So now you're going to get the real strength of me. You know, maybe before I hid, but now I'm wide awake. I am so delighted to be here with all of you young women. Usually they put me on a program with the old women and we get to talk about what has been. But it's wonderful to talk to you young women who are living it now and going to live it in the future.
Thank you so much. Dr. Bailey just always drops wisdom on us, like we're supposed to continue after what she just said. Anaya, what did you have to say?
That was very hard to follow, but just to kind of piggyback off of everybody, I think this all speaks to how we were raised to be ladies and what ladies meant. I don't know if anybody else grew up like this, but I know in my household, it was very important for me to be soft-spoken because otherwise I was being like too loud or just too much in general. You know, my mother is that way as well. You know, she's very outspoken, very loud, and my father, that's a whole different story. But yes, there is this idea that, you know, a lady is one way and one way only. But why can't I be a lady and still assert myself? Why can't I be a lady and still speak how I want to speak? There should not be one way to be a lady. I should be able to wear what I want, speak how I want, say what I want, and still be a lady, treat it like a lady. But otherwise, I'm not treated like a lady if I'm not soft spoken, if I'm not dressed to a certain way, if I'm not covered head to toe. It's very telling that how we grew up is how we are supposed to be, and how we grew up was always based on how a man sees us. And I'm not going to live my life based off of how a cisgendered white man, or any type of man for that matter, sees me. Like, that's just not how I'm going to live my life.
First of all, mic drop, mic drop, mic drop, mic drop. I'm going to move us forward to the next conversation, but I think all of our passion about this subject alone shows how much of a struggle it is and a scratching and clawing it is as a woman to consistently try to take control of the narratives that define womanhood. And that's actually what our next question is discussing. I wanted to know from you all, how can we as women create a more positive and inclusive narrative of womanhood? And why is it so important that we take charge of this narrative rather than continuing to allow ourselves to be defined by others, as has been the case historically?
I can start.
Oh, you go ahead, Anaya.
Okay. So honestly, personally, I just think everybody should just mind their business. Like, be who you are, and that's it. Like, you shouldn't have to explain yourself to anybody. Who you are is who you are. And if somebody has a problem with it, that's their business. Who you are is your business. So why is somebody else in your business? Like, me as a woman, I'm going to walk about my Black women ways. I'm on my Black women's streets as a Black woman, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And whoever has a problem with that, that's on them. But to create a more inclusive society, we have to just mind our business and be okay with who everybody is, unless, they're doing something foul, like illegal. You shouldn't allow that. But otherwise, we just gotta mind our business and allow them to be who they are in a more comfortable way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think another thing as well is acceptance. Accepting people for who they are and their fullness and everything that they can bring, everything that they are, just accepting that and being able to just bring that in, because yes, we're all different, obviously, but I think that our differences make us stronger. And I think that there was another part of the question talking about like why we should, what was it, Kayla?
Why is it important that we take control of the narrative?
Okay, yeah. For me personally, I think it's important that we do it now, because when I get older and I want to become a mom, I don't want my daughter to have to go through all the things that we're going through now. I want to be able to create a more accepting society, so that way when she comes to the world, she's able to navigate this and be free, be who she is, be accepted, be loved, be cared for, be seen. Because right now, we're not really doing that. So I think that that's really important for us to start doing that now.
I feel like not only accepting others, but also learning to accept ourselves and accepting like our own skin and accepting our flaws and accepting our, what's the opposite of flaws? Perfections, sorry. Just accepting like everything about ourselves. That way we aren't like worried about what others are thinking. That way we're not getting like hurt by the negative things people are saying about us, because rooted deeply in us, we accept ourselves, we accept who we are, and we accept our melanin and us as women. So
I'd like to piggyback off of what was said already. I want like acknowledging that gender is fluid, and that as a woman, we don't have to adhere to strictly femininity. We can embrace the masculine sides of ourselves, and that still be us being a woman. Us embracing our masculine side does not mean that we want to be a man. It means that we've got all these different nuances about us that make us who we are as women.
Yes, absolutely. What everyone has said times two. And I also want to add the fact that an important part of defining the narrative of what womanhood is us being able to show up in spaces and be a role model to other women, and be willing to say like, yes, I am a woman, but I like to dress masculinely. Yes, and not even but, because yes, I am a woman and I like to dress masculinely. Yes, I am a woman and I prefer this kind of music. Yes, I am a woman and I am more aggressive. Like these are characteristics that I feel like by representing ourselves authentically across spaces, we are able to show other women that this is acceptable, right? And that because I can do it, so can you. And that there is no reason, there is no person who can stop you or should hinder you from you being authentic and genuine with yourself. Jasmine?
Yes. Like, especially when you talk about, being there, like we need to be there for other women. Honestly, we need to be there. I know Kiera always talks about like salary and stuff, and she's very much like, get your coins, I'm going to tell you how much I make, so boom boom boom. And I love that. And I wish more of us were doing that, where we're like, nope, they're not about to keep us behind, because we're communicating with each other, and it's going to take men too. But I think it's important to create like this positive and inclusive culture, like obviously because there's that pay gap, that labor gap, but also that just like there's so many areas where there are disparities. You can look at research, for example. I'm not going to go into some of the specifics, but you can see the differences in what we know about body, about anatomy, about, you know, reproductive health, about pleasure. There's so many differences in what has been studied based on the gender of the people in that study. And women, you know, women's studies, our biological and all this health stuff is just like so far behind because people haven't taken enough of an interest in it, and people have not allowed enough women to be in those rooms historically to even, you know, decide, let's study ourselves. So that's one. And then we can also help to kind of create a more positive and inclusive culture by normalizing like emotions. Like emotions are not just women things, you know, it's not just when it's that time of the month, it's not just because we got all these hormones. No, we all have emotions, and we all need to learn how to, you know, regulate our emotions and to exist and feel our feelings. But there's not just a women thing. Also, like you were already saying, but like just normalizing trans and non-binary women, you know, normalizing using pronouns, just, you know, things that make it so that it's naturally more inclusive, and that, you know, when people are like, oh, I'm going to be discriminatory, now you're the weird one, you know, because everybody else is, you know, we're all on the same page, and here come this person, you know, stuck in the olden days or something. So we can kind of help to create that, you know, foster that positive culture by doing some of those things. And finally, embracing our bodies, because sometimes, you know, you'll hear like, or you'll see rather, you know, people with the perfect skin and the, you know, skinny bodies and, you know, XYZ is like, okay, this is, you know, this is a woman, this is what you need to look like as an ideal kind of standard, and really normalizing like, no, you know, you can be like, I'm 200 pounds, I'm some muscle, some fat, you know, but like, you know, making sure that we're all like, I'm gonna love and support my body. I'm gonna love and support this next person's body, regardless of what it looks like, because that's, you know, that gets us to this place of, you know, positivity and inclusivity.
Yeah, that's so great. And I love the comments that you make about like the importance of ending body shaming. Like, because really like, and we as women understand this, regardless of what body you have, your body's not the body. Like you literally, you could be skinny, you're too skinny. You could be plus size, you're too big. You could be Coke bottle, you're too thick. Your thighs are too fat. You got thigh nipples, you got stretch marks, you got like, it does not matter what body you have. Somebody gonna be upset. Like there's this saying that you could be the juiciest peach on earth and somebody's still not gonna like peaches. And that literally is what it's like to live as a woman in this industry that is constantly desiring something different from you. And so I think it's so great that you bring up this idea of us recognizing and loving and accepting our bodies and all the different shapes and sizes that a woman's body comes in. And I think additionally, and then Anike, I see your hand, I'll come to you. I think a part of that is also ending body shaming as well as slut shaming and the disproportionate weight that we place on sex for women versus men, or the fact that a woman walking down the street literally, as Anaya was saying, has to be covered from head to toe in order, like when a woman is assaulted, it being like, well, what was she wearing? Well, what time was it? Why was she by herself? Why was she like, we need to end this narrative that says that a woman at all times should cater herself, her body, her clothing to someone else so that she can be considered safe or feminine, or not safe or feminine, or whatever, the fill in the blank. Like there has to be an open space for women to just show up as themselves. And then I see Anike and then Anaya.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch a little bit on like normalizing like women tapping into their masculinity. Because I know for me, like I grew up in a predominantly white town, so like I was never able to explore that in myself, being able to tap into my more masculine side. I was always required to always be feminine and be, you know, just positive and bouncy and smiley all the time. And then I got to college and I was like, I don't want to dress in skirts and dresses and heels. What if I just want to dress a little bit more masculine today? I want to cover up. I want to wear a hat. I want to wear baggy clothes. I want to walk around with a little bit of like a small little pimp walk. Like I want to be able to do that, and it's okay to do that. There's nothing wrong with doing it. And I feel like in our society, we should normalize women being able to tap into that and just, like Anaya said, just mind your business if I am. Like, it has nothing to do with you. Like, there's nothing, please. And so I feel like we should really just normalize that, because it's okay to do that. And I also tap into my femininity a lot of the time as well. Like, I can do both. I love doing both. Both of them are me, so we should really just kind of push that narrative, just being like, it's okay, do what you want. And if someone hates it, oh well. So.
Anaya.
To kind of agree with Anike and touch on what you said earlier, Kayla, there's this whole stigma around women just simply liking sex and liking their bodies. And it's so strange to me because, a man can sleep with the entire world, but the moment a woman loses her virginity, she's deemed like a slut, or, I'm not going to say the other word, but it's very strange to me, because it's like, why can a man sit here, do this, that, and the other with every girl in town, but the moment that I, maybe find somebody that I maybe like, or I just, want to blow some steam off, it's a problem for everybody. It's like, why is everyone so worried about what's between a woman's legs or what's going on with a woman's body? But the moment we bring up what a man is doing, it's like, oh, it's not our business. No, if we're going to treat a man that way, we need to treat a woman like that. Or if we're going to treat a woman like that, we need to hold men to the same standard. They can't just be sleeping around with everybody. And if they are going to be sleeping around with everybody, why can't a woman do the same? It's very strange to me that we hold these women to these standards that, like, oh, not everybody should be able to access your temple. Your body is a temple. And I agree, it is. But how come are we not saying this to our men? It's because we want to shame women into not wanting sex. But how are we going to want sex when we're married if our body is a temple? How are we going to want them to enter us when our entire lives we've been told that's bad? It's very strange to me. And I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. And I feel like, just to sort of add the cherry on top, and a prime example of this was when WAP came out. Now, we as women have heard for decades men talk about all the things that they want to do to a woman's body, the number of women they want to do it to, how they appreciate a woman's figure, how they appreciate, we have heard the details. We have heard the details of sex from a man's perspective for decades. But the moment a woman says, oh, I want it, it's an issue. Like, I'm sorry. The consent that's what I'm confused. So, like, literally the rap industry is saturated with, sorry, my nose ring is turned around and it's bothering me. Anywho, the rap industry is literally saturated with conversations of men degrading, outright disrespecting women, our bodies, our everything. But the moment a woman is like proud, like, you know what, this is what I like and this is what I want. Literally, one of them married, could be talking about her, and y'all are in their business and so upset and so offended and so appalled by the idea that anybody could say these things on national television and they're upset about the and I'm like, I'm sorry, do you know how many videos I have seen of it? Literally the thong song, like I could go down the list of songs by men. So the moral of the story is, stop it. Take a seat. Jasmine, what did you want to say?
Just along those lines, I think it goes back to that idea that, people look at women's bodies as baby makers, as solely for, and depending on, what organs you have and things like that. But for a lot of women are looked at as baby makers, instead of, we own first of all, we own our bodies, shouldn't have autonomy over our bodies, and deserve pleasure. It's not just about, this one function, because as women, we are multifaceted in all ways. So I'll just leave it there. But there we go.
Yes. And Jasmine put this in the chat, and I really feel like this just needs to be the moral of the story for this entire discussion. If you learn nothing else from anything we say tonight, mind your business. Mind your business. That's rule number one. Rule number two is follow rule number one. Rule number three is 1 and 2. Because that's it. Anike, what did you have to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk so like more about women and sex and things like that, and us being, wanting to be open about that. The Bachelorette, that one of them, I think her name's like Katie Thurston, something like that, but she was one of the Bachelorettes here recently. She was more like sex positive, and when she came out, well, she did kind of come out with like a toy, but anyway, people were appalled. People were so distraught over it. They were so taken aback and just flabbergasted that, oh, women like sex, or women want sex, women are so, like, why is that such a bad thing? Yeah, like, it's okay for women to like those things and want those things. And just as I think Jasmine had said, society does view our bodies as just baby making incubators. And that's simply not it. We are allowed to want and desire pleasure. It's okay to do that. And we should also just kind of push that narrative as well. Like, it's okay if you want to do that. If there's a guy that you like, hey, stink, like if you want to like, go over there and, do whatever you want to do, like spit your game, go ahead. Like men do it all the time. Why can't we? And so I think that is really important that we try to push that narrative. So.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I think to also be clear, because I always feel the need to make disclaimers for you all, like everything that we're saying that we feel like we need to expand, I'm done, Jess. Everything that we say that we need to expand for women, I also feel applies the same for men. Like, we need to expand our definitions of what gender is, period. Like this is across the board. We have very restrictive definitions of what being a woman is, as well as restrictive definitions of what it is to be a man. So across the board, like, we truly need to reassess what characteristics and attributes we define gender by, and are they really things that should define gender, or are they things that have been taught historically must define gender? Like, I'm gonna leave that there. We have one more comment from Sydney and Anaya on this question, and then I'm gonna wrap us up with our last question.
I just wanted to add to what Jasmine was saying about our bodies being seen as baby makers. We're seen as baby makers until it comes time to take care of a baby, and our body starts it starts preparing to take care of a baby, producing milk. We have to feed our baby, and then it's disgusting, and we have to go back to hiding our bodies. And at that point, they forget that our bodies are doing exactly what it was intended to do, exactly what you're saying it was intended to do. So it's just I'm confused. Like, what do you want from me? I don't get it.
Excellent point. And Anaya, wrapping us up on this question.
And ladies, let's not forget the contradiction. Okay, they all want us to not want sex, right? They all want us to be like, no, you have to stay a virgin for the rest of your life. But then don't let us say no. Don't let us say no when they come to us and be like, oh, hey, babe, because then our life is in danger. We say no, there's a whole problem. So what are we supposed to do? Because it's either we like sex and we're sluts, or we say no and we're prudes, and then we might get killed simply because we don't want to have sex with this one man. Like, it's actually kind of crazy. And what I'm sorry, I can't remember your names at the moment, but what other panelists were saying about our bodies being baby makers, absolutely right. They will convince you to let them go raw, push their special stuff into you. But the moment, the consequences of those actions are upheld, it's a problem. They're like, oh, so what are you going to do about it? What do you mean, what am I going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Because this is a group project. We did this together. This was teamwork. No, you're not going to sit here and put this on me. Okay. And that's just on period.
Yes, yes. And the responsibility oftentimes is left to the woman. And the only thing that holds a man accountable by law is money, as if money is what it takes to raise a human being. So we're gonna leave that there. And in wrapping up this amazing discussion about redefining womanhood, I want to know, what important advice have you all received that helped to empower you to advocate for yourself or strive towards your goal, whether that be from a woman or someone else? What advice have you received? And then additionally, how would you tweak or improve that advice for young women today? If there's anything about it that you could change, what would it be?
I'm just gonna start by saying my mom and my aunties, I was raised by women, all women. They're the reason I am who I am today. And they always told me to never let a man try to tell me what I'm thinking or what I meant to say or anything like that, and speak my mind, speak my truth exactly how it is, which is my truth, and not to let a man dictate or influence that in any way.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice. Anaya?
So the best advice that I was probably ever given was to never let anybody make me feel as if I don't have a choice, as if I'm helpless in a situation. Because I know as women, we all have felt that way at some point, whether it be by a man or by other outside forces. And I guess a way that I would tweak it is, don't let anybody make you feel helpless, and don't feel afraid to speak up about, what has happened to you, because what has happened to you is valid and your feelings about it are valid.
Yeah, I have a similar advice. Just like saying that, and like even outside of like regarding men, but also just being like, you are worthy. My mom tells me that all the time. It's ridiculous. She always tells me that, like, Anika, you are worthy. You are worthy enough. If a man wants you and you want to say no, leave. Like, you are worthy of that. You are worthy of being respected. You are worthy of being loved. You are worthy of being cared for and seen, and so on and so forth. You are worthy of that. And there's no reason why you're not. And like, I always try to push that, especially to my younger sister and also to young Black girls, especially, that baby, you are worthy. Your kinks, your curls, your big Negro nose, all of it. You are worthy of anything and everything in this world. You are worthy of it and deserving of it. And there's no reason, there is absolutely no reason why you're not. So, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Along the lines of you are worthy, one piece of advice that my therapist actually shared, and it was more so professional advice than personal, but we were talking about, salary and job hunting and things like that. And then of course, talking about, how we deal with racism, being Black and being a woman and being a Black woman, you're dealing with extra levels of racism and whatever comes with it. She said, like, Black is expensive. So, you're worthy, but also you're expensive. And add that Black woman tax when you negotiate your salary, because they're going to stress you out to a level where you need a vacation. So that was a beautiful piece of advice, and I wouldn't change a thing. Like, Black is expensive. And then one piece of advice that was actually personal that I got from a future boss who was a Black woman. Shout out to Ms. Henley at Central Michigan University. She said, take care of you first. Like, put you first. And at the time I was like, nah, I've been called selfish before, nah. But you realize, well, I realized as I grew up some more, like, no, that's valid. Like, as women, and especially as Black women, we find ourselves serving others so much and giving so much of ourselves. And I would adjust that a little bit to say, pour from a cup once it's full. Pour from your cup once you filled yourself up and taking care of yourself. But I absolutely love both pieces of advice that I got from other Black women. So,
a piece of advice that my mom always told me, and I sometimes wonder if I feel like she more so said it as a warning than as advice. but I'm gonna say it anyway because now I take it as advice. But when I was younger, before I used to leave the house for anything, my mom would always be like, remember who you are and remember whose you are. And once again, now y'all understand why I feel like it was a warning. But now, as I become an adult and I mature more, I'm realizing like how truly important that is, because the world will tell me I am everything but who I am. The world will tell me I am ugly. The world will tell me I am stupid. The world will tell me I am not good enough. The world will tell me I am not valuable enough. I cannot make the contributions that I'm interested in making. I cannot make the change that I think is necessary. The world will tell me everything about myself. And it is so necessary for me to be consistently reminding myself, like, wait, that's not who I am. That's not, and not only that's not who I am, but at whose I am, which of course, when she said it, she meant like I am God's as well as hers, which is definitely still true, Mom. Hi. But even now, like reminding myself, like I am my own. Like I don't owe anybody anything. I'm not nobody's wife. I'm not nobody's mama. I don't owe anybody anything. Like, I don't owe you my time, my energy, my effort. Like, I don't owe you my space, my company, my body. I don't owe you anything. Like, I quite literally am my own. And so that piece of advice is so necessary and helpful to me now, especially transitioning into adulthood, because I feel like you are constantly challenged by this world to see if you really are going to stand 10 toes down on what you said. And it's like, yes, I am, because my mom told me I am worthy and I am enough and I am beautiful and I'm smart and I am capable and I can do these things. So yeah, you can't tell me nothing. Anike, what did you want to add?
I wanted to bounce off of what Ms. Jasmine had said about, giving from an empty cup, because in high school, I did that all of the time because I was the only Black girl in a lot of the spaces that I was in. I took a whole bunch of AP classes. I did a lot of sports. I was the only one in those spaces having to like fight for my life, do my own thing. And I am pretty outgoing and pretty outspoken. And I have I'm pretty extroverted, I would say. And so I do have a high personality, like, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes like I would give my energy, my personality, my love, my time, my advice, so on and so forth. But the people I was around wouldn't reciprocate that. So I'm giving you from my cup, my barrel, but you're not reciprocating that same energy. Why not? And I would shut down when I ran out of things to give. I would shut down and my mom would go, Anika, are you okay? My teammates would go, Anika, are you okay? And it's like, yeah, I think, I'm not sure. But as I've gotten older and once I graduated, my mom and I figured out that I was just giving from an empty barrel. And there's nothing to give when it's empty. You can't do that. And it's so draining having to do that. And I did it for about 4 years, all 4 years of high school. And now although I'm still, learning how to do that, now I'm finally in a place where I am not tolerating that like, if you're not going to reciprocate what I'm giving, no thanks. You can keep it, actually. I'm finally to a place where I can do that and be okay. 10 toes down. Like I said it, sorry, the door's that way. I'm gonna open it for you. Thank you. So I just wanted to touch on that, yeah.
Thank you so much. So also this idea of self-care and filling your own bucket and being able to take care of yourself first. Would anyone else like to add some advice that they received?
Just one thing, that you are enough. You are enough. People will tell you that you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do the other, but you're enough just the way you are. You were born that way, so you are enough. That was the best advice that my advisor ever gave me, because in my hard days and my lonely days, that's what I rely back on. And it has taken me over 72 plus years. And I know that if I got this far, I'm nobody special. So you can get that far too. Just knowing that you are enough and that you're going to give, yeah, your well is going to run dry. Know how to go back and replenish, know how to go draw again. Find your well, first of all, from where you draw your strength. Because if you don't have a cup or a well to draw from, you're going to be drinking dirty water anyway. So you have to find your clear water, your well that you can draw from when you pour out, because that's who you are. You are a giver. You give out of your spirit, out of your soul. That's what makes you you. And to do anything other than be you is a detriment to this world. So remain who you are. Know it's going to run dry from time to time, but you can go back and replenish yourself when you know whose you are, when you know where you come from, and when you know who to draw from.
Mic drop. I'm gonna say it every time. Mic drop. Kiara, did you want to say something else in wrapping us up?
Sure, I'll be quick. Since Dr. Bailey was just talking about knowing yourself, matter of fact, all y'all were talking about knowing yourself. I think an important part that nobody talked about was trusting your gut. And the unfortunate thing is, I hope discernment is something that everybody grows to get. I feel like I have it real easy. I can see through people easily, but unfortunately, every person who is a Black male or woman who's successful is not a mentor, is not someone who's going to lead you down the right path or who wants you to go down the right path. Unfortunately, a lot of, as generations progress, I'm not going to just say the older generation, because I've seen it happen with younger people as well. People think that your struggle is supposed to be what theirs was. And if it's not, then you're doing something wrong. Of course, we probably have examples from older generations, like people who, my grandmother, who thinks we're all supposed to struggle or we're, being lazy. But in a group chat with some of my classmates, this Black woman who I know wants the best for people, and other Black women, was complaining about somebody who applied for a job and then asked for some off or something. She was like, these young kids, these millennials, she's not that much. She probably has like 10, 15 years on me. So she's not that much older than me, but it's like, no, I think we're establishing work-life balance and acknowledging the fact that we're not going to work ourselves to the bone and knowing what we want. And that's important. So when you meet people, whether it's professionally or personally, just trust your gut. Like if something doesn't feel right, if you get advice and you want to check with somebody else, then you probably should. You should have more than one person to check with anyway. But that's it.
Thank you, Kiara, for wrapping us up. And thank you, everyone, for being here today and having this amazing conversation with us. Thank you especially to our guests, my Spell sisters from the illustrious Spelman College, the #1 HBCU, in my mind, the only HBCU. Thank you all so much for being, thank you so much for being here today to have this amazing discussion with us about redefining womanhood and how we define womanhood ourselves. Once again, if you learn nothing else, what's the rule? Mind your business. Back to you, Dr. Key.
Well, this was an awesome panel, awesome show talking about womanhood and redefining womanhood. And I think this is a wonderful way to honor Women Empowerment Month. I'm still dissecting, like it was so many t-shirts, like hashtags dropped in this session. I'm gonna go back and rewatch the video. By the way, if you missed these shows, you can always go to FHYA, that's FPHYA 810 on our YouTube page, and you'll be able to go back and look at our archives. But it was so many mics dropped, and it was so many hashtags, and like we got about 10 new t-shirts we can now sell. right, with some of the statements and some of the lines. So again, thank you all so much for being a part of our show. We thank you for tuning in. We will be here Friday after next, same time, for another perspective from the Flint Public Health Youth Academy. And remember now, public health is everything, and everything is public health. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.